All right, let's go through the answers for this practice example with our form 941. I went ahead and took the liberty of filling in quite a bit of the entry stuff, saving the 940. We're going to work through that. I'm going to work through that with you to show you my step-by-step what I did. So I went ahead and put in the employee names. I put in that since we are in the last payroll of the year, so we've had a prior of 51 pays. I put in the wages for everybody, including George with his salary. I put this one in highlight because this one caught my eye that we are really close to the Social Security cap. So we're going to need to do the step one, step two. Step one says, yes, we do go over. When I take the 136 plus the 2480, I would go over. So I'm ready to go down to step two. And I simply took the 137.7, the cap, and subtracted where we're currently at for Social Security. That tells me that there's only 1,020 left to tax for Social Security for George. The rest, these should calculate themselves if you have the rest entered in correctly. What I also then did is I put in what it gave us for the federal income tax. It told us that here in this paragraph. Oh, nope. It told us that in this paragraph here. 75 for both of the first two employees and then 350 for George. It also told us how much is taken out of their paychecks. The only one that I didn't quite put it in order for whatever reason, my 401k, make sure you put that as a 401k for Sarah and not as a flexible spending. So you should have 2 401ks, 3 medical insurances, and 2 FSAs. Net pay, check that. These guys, they've all been here the whole year. They have definitely hit the cap. So we've got a cap of 7,000 for each one of them. And they have all hit the SUTA as well. So these would all be maxed out at 9,500. Therefore, my taxable wages would all be zero. I'm not really focused on that for this exercise, so that's why I didn't have that come into play at all. That's why I don't even mention a SUTA rate. So if we come down here and now check out the journal entry, the wage expense always needs to be my current gross wages. I didn't talk anything about accounting again. I'm not really worried about that on this problem. So, and I didn't have any other items, so those were just zeros. The employee should have had a check of 3209, and that does check out. So the 3209 will match up with the net pay over in the register. This guy simply says, do my debits equal my credits? And the answer when I add in the 3209 is yes. And then my second journal entry simply is my SUTA or my Social Security and my Medicare payables, and those added together is my payroll tax expense. FUTA and SUTA being zero again because we've already hit the caps. All right, now we're ready for Form 941. Number of pays in this quarter. Again, we are paid weekly, it says. So in this quarter, there's 13 pays. As soon as I put that in, that should automatically fill in our first 2 boxes. So that's nice. Again, always in accounting, if you can find ways to work smarter, not harder and longer, then you should. And this is one way. Yeah, it takes you a little bit longer to set it up, but in the end, it's well worth it. So just again, to check our formula, make sure we have it right. If yours doesn't, you need to verify. Cell I5, current Fed wages, and multiply that by the 13 weeks. That's how much wages we had total taxable. How much was taken out of our employee checks? 500 per week times 13 weeks. Now, nothing is listed for column 1 yet, and that's because I don't have anything in my area here. So let's go ahead and start filling in the amounts. I only actually need two line items this time. I won't need the bottom because between pays 40 through 51 is going to be one amount, and then simply pay 52 is going to be the final amount. Nobody hit the cap until week 52. So that's the only one that needs to be different. These would need to be different if these guys hit the cap at different times. But Jerry's the only one that hit the cap. So we're okay to, or not Jerry, George is the only one that hit the cap, and he hit it in the final pay. So what we're going to need to do is bring this total column. We're going to go ahead and bring that over to add up all three of these. So if we hit that one, yep, it totals. Yep, that guy totals. And then this one, oops, this should total as well. Good. All right, so Jerry never hits the cap. I don't have anything to do. There's no reason for me to put it in two different times. I'm just going to go down here and do an override into the total and say, okay, Jerry, you earned 710 and you never went, your cap never changed because you never hit the cap. So I'm going to take 710 times the full amount, and I'm going to times that by your number of pays. 13 pays. Sarah, I'm going to go ahead and do an override for you as well because you never hit the cap. So I'm going to take the 950 times the employee and the employer portion together, 6.2 plus 6.2, 12.4, and multiply that by the number of weeks. Now for George, we do need to have this broken down, and that's why I have it like this. So for George, I'm going to do simply George's pay for the first 11 weeks would have been this at this for the Social Security rate, times that by 0.124, and then multiply that by the first 12 weeks. And then finally for week 52, I can see what George had taken out for his paycheck, or I could just come over here. Either way, let's just keep it the way we have been. Let's take this times 0.124 times 1, because it's the last week. So George's total Social Security taxable wages is added up here. All of my employees totaled here. So column 1, 6790. Actually, oh, sorry, I forgot one thing here. This is actually just the wages. I apologize about that. That should not be in because we're only calculating wages at this point. We need to update that. Let's update this guy here as well. Just doing wages. His wages times 12. His wages here times 1. There we go. 54,760. I hate that that is that I led you on there for the last couple of minutes. You may have been stressing. All right, so we're just doing wages. 54,760 total taxable wages. This is taking the 1.24. I should have remembered that that's where it does. I don't know why I got off on a tangent there. Come down to column 5C. Nobody hits the cap. There is no cap in Medicare, so there is no cap to worry about. All we've got to do is take this 4340 and then multiply it by the number of weeks. That'll be our total wages. So that one was already filled in for us if you have it set up right. Take that number times the 0.029. Line 5E, 6, and then 10 and 12 should all be filled out as well. Don't worry about line 13. For some reason, it's got something in there already. It probably shouldn't, but we'll figure that out once we get to it. Line 5E, these two columns added up. And then finally, line 6 is line 5E and line 3. All right, let's come down here and start filling in. Let's see where what it's got here. For whatever reason, it's got, I must have forgot to take this out. I'm not sure what I did. So let's take that out of our calculations. We'll put those in separately. All right, let's start doing this. Month one. It says here that I believe that October, or no, it's December again, has the 5th week. So we have 4 weeks, 4 weeks, and 5 weeks. If I did everything correctly, it's saying how much should have been due for Social Security. Take my K5, my without any caps, times, this is what I was thinking I was doing up above for whatever reason, times the 0.124 times 4 weeks. That's how much Social Security we have. Same thing for Medicare, and then the federal withholdings, all you got to do is come over here and then times it by the 4. No, October and November should be the same because nobody hit the cap in either of those 2 months. The only place it's going to be different is down here for Jerry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and copy and paste this, knowing that I'm going to have to change a few things, but I think it's going to be easier to change the few things. This, put Jerry, Sarah, and George. All right. And then this would be pays not 40 through 51 anymore because we're only dealing with December. So this would be pays 48 through 51 and then simply pay 52. So 48, 49, 50, 51. This is for the first 4 pays out of 5 and then the 5th pay. For Jerry, we can do an override for him because he doesn't hit the cap ever. So for Jerry, I can just come up here and say, all right, Jerry, you made 710 times 0.124 for you and the employer's taxes, and then times all 5 weeks. Well, in that case, sorry, we want to reference December 5. Sarah, very similar. We take her Social Security wage times 0.124 times the December number of weeks. The only one that's different is George. George is going to use this as his first 4 weeks when no cap was hit, times by 1.24 or 0.124, times this time 4 weeks, because it's only these 4. And then simply take this times 0.124, his current taxable Social Security for the last week, times the 1 week, the last week. Okay, so that adds up these guys. This adds up all of the taxes that were due for Social Security, 2484. That gets carried over here. These guys were self-calculated if you put in the right formulas before. Grand total of 14,926. Let's come up here and check. And yes, look, it matches 14,926. All right, there you go. The practice example for the Form 941. Hopefully now you are set to try it on your own with the homework example. I will see you for the third and last lecture for this module whenever you're ready for Social Security.